please. Okay, I'll call us back into session.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we open the public hearing as requested.
Have a motion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we open the public hearing.
Well, you're going to have an echo.
All right, this is the process that's going to happen today. The purpose of this hearing, the first hearing is future land use map change requesting a change to residential, from residential rural to recreational by John McNabb. What we're going to do is I'm going to give the staff time to state what has happened and what is going on. Then I'm going to give Mr. McNabb the opportunity to come up and make comments. Then we have received many written comments. We have read them. They are part of the record. And we're not going to go through every one of them and read every one of them, but they are part of the record. Then we're going to give those who wish to speak the opportunity to come up to the chair and mic, and those for, then those against, and then those that are neutral. These are the rules. All speakers must speak into the microphone and give their name and address. All comments shall be addressed to the hearing body, which is the commissioners. Be relevant to the hearing and not be of personal nature. There will be a time limit of 3 minutes. Avoid repetitive comments. If there's a large number of speakers, including many who are part of a group or organization, I'd ask for a representative to speak on behalf of the organization or group. Unruly behavior is prohibited. There's a little button right over here on the desk that if I feel you're unruly, we will have the court marshals in here and you will be escorted out of the building. Then we'll have closing or rebuttal comments from the applicant, additional staff comments, questions for members of the board, from members of the board, and then we'll close this public hearing. When we close the public hearing, there will be discussion between the commissioners. So that's the process. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to staff.
Good morning, Commissioners. Mike Jaglowski, Bannock County Engineer. I am here representing Planning and Development. Director Hal Jensen is not available today, and I am sitting in his stead. The applicant, John McNabb, is seeking to amend the Bannock County Comprehensive Plan for the purpose of changing a parcel of land in which is approximately 35 acres from residential rural zone to recreation zone on the comprehensive plan's future land use map. This item was heard on August 18.
Let me stop you right there. It's 2 parcels of land, right?
I'm sorry, that's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
I want, just so we're clear.
There are, and maybe what I should do is I should just stop right there. We have this parcel, whoops, let me go back over on this side. We have this parcel is outlined. This equates to 23.3 acres, and then this parcel here, as you can see, it's bound by this location and across like that, and this is approximately 12.3 acres. So it's 35.6 plus or minus.
Thank you.
On that type of, you bet, thank you. This item was heard by Planning and Development Council on I believe it was the 18th of August, of which that time, let me just verify that, please. Yep, 18th of August, of which at that time the Planning and Development Council, as they worked through their ordinance required items and listened to public testimony at that time, voted to deny this application for rezone, or excuse me, for change of the future land use map according to Bannock County ordinance. The purpose that we are here is so that Bannock County commissioners can agree with, and please help me out, council, agree with the decision, ask more information regarding that decision, or to overturn that decision. Is that correct, Council?
Yeah, it's to listen to the planning's recommendation and go from there.
Okay, perfect. So the recommendation to Board of County Commissioners is to deny this application for a future land use map. And I am available for questions. If needed, I can describe the property more if desired, Commissioners.
At a later time.
Mr. McNabb? Yes, please, right there.
Thank you. I'm John C. McNabb, and my address is 6993 North Rapid Creek in Ingham. We have this approximately 35 acres that we would like to change the future land use map from residential rural to recreational. We hope to use the land more efficiently in this manner and have lots that would be a bit smaller than the 2.5 acre size. It would be rural residential. These would be with the terrain of the land and other factors, mostly the terrain of the land. The lots would be about probably 1.5 acres or in size approximately. I know there are the idea of being sustainable agricultural land, which is addressed in the ordinance, will come up, and I want to address that at this point. That is to whose definition and what definition they might use of sustainable agricultural land. This is by no means a type of land where we're talking about a highly, where there's a good quality land or irrigation water, that kind of thing. That's not, irrigation water is not available here. It is farmed, and at one time it may have been called a better or a quality agricultural land, but with the expenses the way they are, it's not that way. And it is farmed in a marginal basis as far as profitability, and when you compare it to other return on investment in other types of business or opportunities, it is way low on that scale. As far as wildlife, yes, there are different animals there, but that, by the same respect, they're in a lot of different places that are zoned in many different ways. I even see them once in a while down in the city of Ingham. We see deer, and so it is contiguous to other recreational zone property, and so it does continue. It connects to that. So thank you, and I appreciate this opportunity to express our request. So,
All right, thank you. In the sign-up sheet, we have no one for and no one neutral. So, Brett Matthey. 3 minutes.
Timer.
Hi, I'm Brett Matthey, live at 1970 East Pebble Road, Ingham, Idaho. With the change of this zoning on the plat map, clearly states in the law that designation can't be changed as agricultural use land. Whether or not it's profitable, it has been farmed for many years. Also, I believe that there's a serious issue with the density of the housing due to how the rest of the mountain has been structured, and I think it'd be a real detriment to the area. Traffic is going to be unreal, and I know that's going to change over the years, but Green Canyon Road is probably one of the worst, busiest roads in Bannock County in the wintertime, and I don't think that when they do the testing that they're testing it during the winter time. It's usually done, I see the test strips out there in the summer, but in the winter, the traffic more than quadruples up that road. And with the volume and the density of the housing, I think it'd be a real detriment to the area. Thank you.
Thank you. Penny Pink?
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
Penny Pink, 1849 East Pebble, Ingham, Idaho. I would ask the commissioners to seriously consider the Planning and Zoning Board's recommendation to deny this change of zoning. I believe that the reasons for that were well documented. The change is in opposition to your own ordinances. I believe that's been clearly documented. I've read some of the other written testimony that's been submitted to the commissioners and am in agreement with those positions opposing this decision. I ask you that you take those seriously, and I won't reiterate all of the details. I agree with Brett's position, so in the interest of time, I won't restate that. I mean, we have issues with traffic, and I'll add to this that although the subdivision where my residence is zoned recreational, it wasn't platted to the density that would have been allowed to that. So in consistency with the other platting of over 2 acres, most of them are in the 3 acres range, and many of us own multiple lots in that subdivision. I would ask that you keep the density consistent with the way the platting is in the area right now to be able to maintain that same standard of living. It may or may not be in your purview to consider this, but we all have issues with our wells in the area and lack of water. I understand that that's not a consideration that planning and zoning could take. I don't know that that's something you guys can consider, but it is indeed an issue, and it's something that we're all deeply concerned about. Redrilling a well is very, very expensive, and the more we have density up gradient of the other subdivisions that are just below us that have just been platted, not only is that going to adversely impact us right in the vicinity, but that's going to impact all of those other subdivisions you've allowed to be platted that are down gradient from us. And I say that as somebody that has a degree in environmental engineering and has done water and wastewater management, hydrogeology work professionally. So thank you for listening to our positions, and I appreciate the difficulty of your decisions.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Commissioner. Forrest Fisher, attorney, Moulton Law Office. I was retained by Mr. Greg Nickerson, who lives just north of the subject parcel. We would support the denial in this case for the reasons that were set forth by the Planning and Zoning Commission. In particular, looking at the comprehensive plan, it states that before redesignation from rec land to, or excuse me, from redesignation from rural residential or any redesignation to recreational land, it must not be suitable for agricultural uses, amongst other things. And so by the standards of the comp plan, the direct language, this redesignation shouldn't happen. The other thing we have to point out too is the fact that this comprehensive plan, through a lot of time, and I've been on plans, commissions before, it takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to go through and redo a comprehensive plan. And from what I can see, this was just done recently, back in March of 2021. And so it hasn't been a full year since all of these areas were considered. And so now we're seeking, the applicant is now seeking to change that designation, which was already relatively addressed not too long ago. And when we run into that situation, the commission needs to avoid engaging in what would be determined, illegal spot zoning. In Evans versus Teton County, and in other cases, it talks about that it's illegal to effectuate a zone change that singles out a parcel of land for use inconsistent with the permitted use of the rest of the zoning district for the benefit of an individual property owner. And I'm not saying that that's what's being asked for here, it's just that it's getting very close to that sort of situation. And so ultimately, I mean, as said by Mr. McNabb, I mean, this is an issue of density. From what I can gather, his application is really general, but from what I gather, this is trying to get more density for this area of land than is originally available under the rural residential. As I see it, the rural residential is 1 unit per 5 acres, while the recreational area is 1 unit per acre with a 50% open space requirement. Just looking at the numbers, now I do recognize that this doesn't take into account the topography of the area, but you know that could be an increase from 7 homes under the rural residential to 17 homes. Now that would be the max. Of course, the topography of the area might not be conducive for all areas, but we are looking at the increase in density, and that's what he's trying to do. And the question is that really what the recreational zone was meant for? Was it really meant for these sort of high clustered development?
Done.
Time?
3 minutes. Yep, you're done.
Perfect. All right, well, thank you very much.
Stacy Fowler?
Stacy Fowler, I'm at P.O. Box 3065 in Pocatello, Idaho, Pebble Drive. Ditto everything that everybody else has said. Basically, what we're trying not to do here is we've got a lower section of this, which you would call phase 1 of this subdivision, that is the low density rural residential, and then we're trying to turn it into a Thunder Mountain, if you're familiar with Thunder Mountain in Lava Hot Springs, where it's all recreational 1 acre lots with high density and a variety of anything from a trailer house to a nice cabin. And that is not conducive with the area. And then again, everything else that's already been said, all of the, like the whole list of all of the comprehensive plans that this doesn't fall under. That's
Thank
it.
you. Thank you. Jackie Stuckey.
Jackie Stuckey, 1283 North Bonneville Road. I just want to reiterate that the reason that it was denied is because of the ordinance. So we would hope that you would stick with the ordinance that you as a county have already declared. The ordinance does not say profitable farming, it just says agriculture, and this land has not only been farmed in hay in the past few years, but before that, it was farmed in wheat and cultivated. So that is in accordance with the ordinance, that it states that it should stay what it already is and not to be appealed and changed. Thank you.
Thank you. Don Williams?
My name's Don Williams, Jr., 1746 North Black Forest Way, Eagle, Idaho. I'm here just to acknowledge everything that's already been said about water and sewer, the impact, the houses. I get it. The only thing I think I can bring a different perspective to this whole thing is that I live in Eagle, Idaho, and anybody that has seen that town in the last 40 years, we moved to Eagle 35 years ago. You can't drive down the roads. There's no open space. You can't get around in the shopping. If anywhere that you thought you were going to go in 20 minutes in the past, it's now a 45-minute drive to an hour. You guys are on the precipice. You're staring into the abyss of what might happen. I can't fault Mr. McNabb. I've never met him before for wanting to sell more land to make more money. But it gets to a point when all of a sudden everything comes crashing down because those 2.5 acres become 1 acre, and then all of a sudden there are 4 to 5 houses on an acre, and then there are 400 to 500 apartment units on less than 5 acres. And you cannot believe how awful it is and taken away from the lifestyle that you have. You're right on the edge of it. So I came here because my daughter lives here, my grandkids have graduated in their final year at Pocatello High School. They're going to ISU. I mean, I've got family from way back when. I feel connected to the area, and I do feel passionate. I know that I'm seen as a newcomer, usurper, whatever you want to call me. I understand that. I watched it for 35 years in Eagle. Gentlemen, this is important stuff, and I want to be able to enjoy the lifestyle that all of you have, and I hope that all of you can hold on to it too. And Ned, I appreciate your service. Thank you. So my son was in Fallujah and Ramadi, so thank you very much.
Dirt, man.
Thank you.
So thank you.
Thank you. Nathan?
Nathan DeKemper, 1210 North Bonneville Road. I did submit written testimony. You've read it. I'm not going to recap any of that. I'll just make one point, and it's maybe just something I'd ask that you seek clarification on. Different numbers have been thrown out for the number of houses that could be built on this lots if it went to recreational. When I look at the Bannock County Ordinance 1724060, this land is over 5,000 feet in elevation. Per that ordinance, that would require an open space designation, which is a density of one home per acre, not the size of a lot, one home per acre. The code does not specify what size the lot could be. The comprehensive plan suggests that the lots would be 1/3 acre or bigger, but that's not law. And then code 16.28.010 states that the open space is included in the mathematics for the number of lots. So in that case, there's 35 acres in question here. You could put 35 homes on that land, is the way I interpret that. So maybe some clarification from staffers as you discuss that, if we can make sure we're right on that. But what I see is the potential for 1/3 lots or bigger and 35 of them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Michael? Ritz? Okay.
Morning. My name is Michael Rissick. I live at 2074 East Pebble Drive. I agree with the comments that have come before me. I'd like to add one consideration as well, and that's with safety. Unfortunately, a few years ago, we had a fire at our house, and the response time for the volunteer fire department in that area was a half an hour. And as we increase the density of housing in that area, that increases the likelihood of additional fires just based on sheer numbers and statistics. And the safety and the security that Public Services is able to provide in that area, I believe, is insufficient for the amount of houses that are already platted. And if we go to increase additionally, that further puts a strain on the public safety mechanisms that we have in place. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Greg? Nickerson?
Good morning. I guess it's still morning. I'd like to just state for my name's Greg Nickerson, 2047 East Pebble Road. State that I agree with what has gone on here. The other thing that I guess I feel like that as a group of people, we're looking, or hopefully looking to you as the county commissioners to make the right choice on this. Guys, we have no water. I know that water is supposedly not supposed to be an issue, but right now we have no water in the summertime. And that's well known by Mr. McNabb. The crops he has as far as dry farm crops have been successful crops. We've watched him take the alfalfa off of it. Something that I hope that, Chairman, that you can be able to do. I know that with the ecclesiastical relationship that you have with Mr. McNabb in the church, I hope that you can make a decision that is impartial. You know, we as a group are hoping that.
Okay,
So anyway,
I'll just stop you there because it's not a personal deal. We
Okay,
already
well,
read
that's-
that part. So, and I'll address that in a minute, okay?
All right. Anyway, just as a county commissioners, we're just asking you to watch out for us as people, rather than cramming a lot of homes into this area that we already hurt for water. There's nothing else in this area that is built like this, and to have this change like this isn't right.
Thank you. Mr. Myers. It is a Meyer?
I'm W. Ron Myers, 2149 East Green Canyon Road. I own the property right directly east uphill from this development. The farmland, about 33 acres, and my my house lot abuts that with another 9.32 acres. I guess I'm concerned with the amount of water that's up there for making higher density on that property. I'm also concerned with the soil up there, with the clay soil and whatnot, that a sewer system can really suffice up there. Drainage systems with that clay soil and whatnot up there. And of course the water is probably inadequate for a higher density. And also,
I appreciate that, but it's been commented that we have zero effect or zero say on water and sewer. So
I'm also very concerned with more people skiing across, snowboarding, or taking their snow machines across my property, my farm property, and coming down from the ski area. If I have a higher density, that's going to impact my farmland more. And I think that's what I have for you. So.
All right, thank you. Mr. McNabb, you have rebuttal time.
Just a couple of things to review. The size of the rural residential lots could be 2.5 acres. It could be reduced to 1 acre lots. However, with the topography, that wouldn't be possible with this, and so that's a consideration here. Like as I mentioned before, there'd probably be more like 1.5 acres or so. As far as it does say in the ordinance regarding agricultural land, it says sustainable agricultural land, or is not a sustainable agricultural land. So sustainable means that doesn't refer to hobby farming. And and I'll tell you, I feel sometimes I do a lot of hobby farming because I love farming. That's what I do. It's what I love. And given much better agricultural prices, I'd love to see it farmed. But with high expenses and low commodity prices, why it brings that word sustainable into question, whether it's sustainable agricultural land. And so I would encourage the passing of this application, and thank you.
Thank you. Further comments from staff?
None at this time.
Okay. Commissioner Huff, any questions?
No, I don't have any at this time. Thank you.
Commissioner Tubby?
Yes. Real quick, Mike. So as I understand that, the yellow that's on the map, that's all recreational zoned right now, correct?
That's correct.
So any of those yellow areas right now could go in and put 1 acre lots in, correct? There's nothing that's stopping that.
Yes, that's correct.
Then the parcels that are rural residential, if they put a PUD in, planned unit development, they could go down to 1 unit per half acre under rural residential, correct?
According to the ordinance, they could reduce the density. I don't know exactly what that density would be, Commissioner.
Okay.
but they could reduce the density based on a planned unit development application.
Has there been any attempt to rezone that recreational area into rural residential?
There is not.
Okay. Do you know how that spot zone area to the south was of rural residential, how it was created? As I look at this on the map, I see this section that's there, and I'm curious of why some ag exists and other areas don't. I just, for pretenses, I skied this hill a lot, but I haven't been over there in many years, so I was just curious of how that hill developed that way, because it looks like that we have pretty tight urban areas that are starting to develop.
That's correct. I do not know the history of this. I'm going to say generally 80 acres, and that includes the 35 that's in question. Sir?
Bring that a little. Give us a bigger picture.
Because it's an island unto itself. That's actually what a spot zone would be. That's the definition of a spot zone right there,
Yeah.
that piece that's right there.
Right, and so I do know that property just within the last, I'd say 4 years to downhill or to the west of this property, changed zoning from ag to rural, or excuse me, residential rural. I shouldn't say the only thing, but some of the investigation and work that I've done, this type of zoning, the way that it is here, follows an old, 20, 25-year zoning pattern, if you will, where it looks at a lot of different things, including contours and topography and different things, and not necessarily spot zoning was approvable at that time, but I believe that this is something that was kind of a throw over from middle 90s, probably the 90s to 2000s on here. That's the only thing that I can really kind of recollect or have as an excuse, if you will, for this zoning designation, and then especially just over to the south. I mean, that is absolutely 100% as spot zoning at some time in the past, but not since my tenure.
Then just refresh me on rural residential. Agricultural production is allowed in rural residential?
That is correct.
Just confined animal feeding operations are the only thing that are not allowed in those areas?
That's my understanding.
And then high density is allowed underneath multiple units as long as they're authorized and permitted and go through planning and zoning, correct?
On rural residential, I believe that is completed through a conditional use permit, but is permitted through a CUP.
And then how big were those lots that were done in that Coyote Hollow subdivision that's just down from there?
Coyote Hollow subdivision has a combination of 5-acre lots, 5 acre plus to 2.5 acre lots.
Okay. All right. I'm good. That was just a question. So, one last question. That road, I'm sorry I haven't had a chance to drive up that particular road. I've been on Bonneville. That road is gravel, or is that to county standard? Is that what's the disposition of that road?
Currently, that road is gravel, and it is considered a private road.
Okay. I'm good.
Okay.
Follow-up question there, Commissioner.
All right, Commissioner Huff.
On that road, is there any plans of the county to take that over in the future, or will that remain a private road, to the best of our knowledge?
All roads end up becoming county roads sometime in the future. It would end up being our responsibility, in my opinion. Mike?
I would echo that, but I would add to that currently both the Public Works Director and myself, we require all roads to be brought to current county standards before we would recommend to the commissioners for that road to be inherited, if you will, or would be included as our part of our transportation system.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. So I'll just say that I was asked multiple times to recuse myself from this hearing. I do have a relationship with the McNabbs, but I have a relationship with everybody else almost in this room. I live in Inkom. I mean, I've been part of it. I've seen the hill grow and all the development. If I recused myself every time I knew somebody, I wouldn't do my job. I wouldn't be able to. And so I feel that I have the integrity to look at the facts and make the decisions that are best for Bannock County. With that being said,
Mr. Chairman, I'd move to close the public hearing.
We have a motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously. Any comments or questions from the commissioners themselves?
So the problem I have as it comes back is when I start looking at this is if you actually look at Title 341 in the recreational district definition, it says to encourage compatible blend of recreation, tourist use, and public recreation use in such a way to preserve Bannock County's recreational resources. That's actually the definition of what a rec district is, a recreational area. The argument of agriculture is going to be a based and biased opinion. I grew up in a family where my grandfather ran 350,000 acres and had 150,000 irrigated acres in the Columbia River. So that's a little bit different agriculture than some of the hobby farming and stuff that's there. So my argument, and I would look at, and when I see this, is I have a piece of property that is bound by private property that does not have access to BLM ground, that does not have a way that I don't see the benefit of recreational use. I don't see how that it would give access to BLM ground or into the Thunder Canyon area in Lava Hot Springs. It has actually created quite a disaster of what it is. Recreational use should also echo the surrounding property and like use for that. So from my opinion, when I look at this, I see that we're going to have a bunch of houses built here. Is what we have a road that's there. It's probably going to be subdivided sometime down in the future. I have houses to the north, houses to the south. There is an ability probably in that one parcel, if the owner so chooses to subdivide it, could put 4, 5, 6, 7 houses in there. There's some other stuff. It's going to be houses. That's what it looks like. Sooner or later, those farmers that own those green parcels right there, they might farm it, but their family's probably not going to, because the best thing that farms up there right now is lots. And so, for me, Mr. Chairman, my opinion right now is to uphold the denial of the recreational zoning change, because I think that the objectives of rural residential still fit and apply.
Okay. Commissioner Huff?
I would like to echo Commissioner Tubby. The issue in Lava with the recreational zoning over there and the headache that has caused, I do believe is not worth pursuing in this particular area. Also, with the newness of a plan, as was pointed to earlier, we need to give it some time to season before we make significant changes to it. So I would be in opposition to this as well.
Thank you. And it's my opinion that people have bought ground up there and knew where and why they bought the ground. And those rights are property rights. And so I would make a motion that the Bannock County Commissioners uphold Bannock County Planning and Development Council's recommendation of denial of this application. I have a motion. All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Passes unanimously. This matter is closed.
Take 5 minutes.
We'll take 5 minutes and then we'll start the next public hearing.